Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Fatina Amirah binti Abdul Nasir and my partner is Tiba Anak Perempuan Rina Gopal from School of Chemical and Energy, Faculty Engineering from UTM. We present of our pocketbook titled Photoshop. So, this is our pocketbook contents. Introduction to Photoshop. A Photoshop is a workplace specifically designed and built for the purpose of taking photographs. In basic from a studio, will feature a well-lit space with a blank backdrop to allow the capturing of images in an environment free from obtrusive external light sources. Professional photography studios are jam-packed with the most expensive photography, lighting and editing equipment, providing photographers with all the equipment and resources they require to capture highly specific images. Besides, they also printed out the picture. So this pocketbook was produced to help the workers at the Photoshop to prevent potential illness, injury and stresses at the workplace. So this is the some example equipment or tools used in the Photoshop: tripod stand, camera, lights, light stand, light modifiers, backdrop holder and a computer software. Okay, moving on to the hazard identification, risk assessment and control. HIRAC. HIRAC is a compound word which is made up of 3 consecutive activities running one after the other. The activities consist of hazard identification, which is the recognizing of things which may cause injury or harm to a person. Risk assessment, which is a process to identify potential hazards and analyze what could happen if a hazard occurs, and also the risk control, which is a setup of method by which firms evaluate potential losses and take action to reduce such threats. So for this pocketbook, we had visit and interview one Photoshop at Taman University and comes up with the 3 main hazards, which is first, chemical hazard, ergonomics hazard, and also physical hazard. So this is the HIRAC assessment that we done at the Color Junction Imaging, Taman University, which is the Photoshop, on 22nd April 2022. So for the first activity, cutting glass off the frame, the hazard is the sharp object which cause finger cuts by the blades or grass fragment. So the existing control is the training and safety practice. The risk is 6, which is the medium. So the recommended control measure is the put blade in one container. The activity is doing inside a container so that the fragments will not fly in or drop anywhere. Second, chemical installing for photo printing, which is the hazard is chemical, which cause eyes and skin irritation. So the existing risk control is the safety signs. So the risk is 6 medium. So the recommended control measures is the wear glove and safety goggles. So next, taking photos, which is the hazard is the ergonomic body position, which can cause back pain due to the wrong position handling the camera. The risk is 6, which is medium. So the recommended control measures is adjust the height of the camera suitable with the workers. So 5 is the carry frame or glass, which is the hazard is the heavy load, so which cause the back pain due to the heavy load. So the existing practice is apply safety practice. The risk is 6, which is medium, and the risk control that recommended is using trolley in order to carry the heavy load. And 5th, the camera light. The hazard is physical, which can cause the eye irritation to the excessive light received. The risk is 12, height. The recommended control measure is reduce the duration of the workers that exposing to the lights. So next I will pass to my partner, Tiba.
Good day, I am Tiba Rina Gopal. Now I would like to continue with the HIRAC table, the number 6, which is the activity is operating printing machine, where the hazard is unguarded machine, and the effect is the hand will get caught into the rotating parts, and the existing risk control is practicing safe work. And for the risk part, it has been concluded as 6, which is medium. And under the operating printing machine, there's another hazard, which is flying fragment, where it can cause serious cuts and eyes injuries by flying fragments of blades that break during cutting. And for the existing risk control, there must be warning signs or must give a proper training. And for the risk, there's it has been concluded as 6, which is medium. And for the risk control, they should wear gloves and safety goggle. And another activity is the repair and maintenance of machine, where the hazard is unsafe work practice, where it can cause serious cuts from blade and getting caught in rotating parts if machines are accidentally started. And for the existing risk control, it should cover on button safe work practice. And the risk that has been concluded is 6, which is medium. And for the risk control, training must give proper training to the workers on how to do frequent maintenance of the machine. The next activity is using of computer, where the hazard is ergonomic, which means that working for longer hours, and the effect is can cause back pain, eyes, or irritation. And for the existing risk control is using suitable chairs during the activity. For the risk, it has been concluded as 6, which is medium. And for the risk control is relaxation or installing screen filter. And for the last activity is electrical, where the hazard is physical. And for the cause or effect, the first one is electric shock due to drinks, and the second one is electric shock due to the wire leaking because of workers stepping on it. And for the electric shock due to drinks, the existing risk control is safety signs. And for the risk, it has been concluded as 6, which is medium. And for the risk control is putting drinks or anything that can initiate electric shocks at a place further from switch and cables. And for the electric shock due to wire leaking because of workers stepping on it, the risk is also concluded as 6, which is medium. And for the risk control is putting tape on the wire so that the wire will stay in good condition. Now I would like to continue with hierarchy of controls. There are actually 6 steps in the hierarchy of controls. The first one is elimination. It is about eliminating the hazard and the risk it creates is the most effective control measure. The second one is substitution, where it is about substituting the risks with lesser risks. The third one is isolation, where it is about isolating people from the risks. The fourth one is engineering controls, where it is about reducing the risks through engineering changes or changes to systems of work. The fifth one is administrative controls, where it is about using administrative actions to minimize exposure to hazards and to reduce the level of harm. And finally is the personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, where it is about using personal protective equipment to protect people from harm. Now let's see the hierarchy of controls for the Photoshop. For the first part, elimination part, we should avoid using machines or other things that have not been repaired or maintained for a long time. For an example, the operating machines. For the second part, which is substitution, we should replace the leaked wires with new wires to prevent workers from electrocution. And for the third part, isolation, firstly we should isolate workers who are contacted with COVID-19. Secondly, we should isolate workers when any fire hazards occur, which can possibly occur due to the chemicals being used. The fourth part is engineering controls, where we should use mechanical devices such as trolleys and hoists to move heavy loads. The fifth part is the administrative controls, where we should limit exposure time to a hazardous task. For an example, the workers must limit their exposure time when working with camera lights and chemicals. Finally is the personal protective equipment part, which is PPE, where we should wear gloves and safety goggles when handling the chemicals. Now I would like to continue with the preventive measures for the hazard. First one is ensuring no loose cable in the studio. We should use duct tapes to secure the loose cables. Secondly, we must always use a tripod stand with 2 legs for light fitting and the other 2 legs at the back. Not only that, but also make sure that all tripods are joined correctly to prevent from falling. Third one, make sure that all light stands are put safely and their position is also correct. The fourth one, always put a cover on light units such as model lights when the placement is shifted in order to prevent any burn. The fifth one, make sure that all light fittings are hung safely in the wall, which will prevent the workers from falling. The sixth one, make sure that there is no liquid when charging the camera or connecting other supplies to the charging port. The seventh one, ensure that the flashlight and mirror are set in the right place to prevent harm to the eyes. The eighth one, ensure that there is no wire leakage and check whether the earthing has been done correctly on the devices. The ninth one, the use of scissors and utility knives is often required to cut cable ties and gaffer tape. When these are not in use, they should be stored safely with blade covers on in a place where they will be not accidentally knocked. The 10th one, equipment or stored items that require above head height working or access to these items to be made by appropriate step ladders, kick stools or scaffolding as necessary. The 11th one, no food or drinks is to be taken into the studio. This is to prevent food or drink from being spilled, destroying or damaging the equipment and giving electric shocks from the wires. Not only that, but it could be also a slip hazard. The 12th one, check all the electrical equipment is up to date with PAT testing. A visual check is to be carried out to ensure that there are no exposed wires, damaged LEDs, plugs are firmly pushed into sockets, no cables are stretched, and the equipment looks to be in good condition and works as designed. The last but not least, make sure to give the studio lights plenty of time to cool down after use. The lights and the housings get very hot, hence will get burned if picking up something that is hot and then dropping it. In hot lamps, the filaments are also more fragile and prone to breaking if moved when still hot. These are the references we used to complete our pocket book. Safety first is safety always. That's all from us. Thank you.